Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Comedy Cellar Nightly. I'm me. I'm Sean Donnelly. You know what this is. We get together, the comics from the cellar, and we chit chat for an hour. We try to entertain you. It might be weird. It might be great. Who the hell knows? And right now, we have two of the great three comics that we have tonight. Graham K and Veronica Mosey. How are you guys?
Hello.
Good.
Graham just said that you are. I guess we always talk about quarantine on this thing. I guess we can try to change the subject at some point, but that's what's happening to everybody. Nobody knows the timeline of what's going on with this, but I thought it was interesting. You were telling us right before we started, you're quarantining in Canada. Why? Because you went home and then you have the 2-week thing, the lockdown?
Yeah, I'm from Canada.
Yeah.
I have a green card, so I'm like Jason Bourne. I'm like the only person who can go back and forth.
Yeah, I would not be allowed into Canada right now, right?
Would not be allowed in Canada, and Canadians can't go to. I'm not sure if Canadians go to America or not, but Canadians wouldn't let the Canadian border wouldn't let you go to America anyway. They're like, don't go there, it's bad.
It's just the opinion of the our ICE agents are locking up Mexican children, and they're your guys are just giving people nice advice. And here's our next guest, Eric Newman. There he is. He looks like he's preparing for a mugshot. And Eric, get yourself off mute. Have you not done one of these Zoom shows, you fucking idiot? There you go. Get yourself off mute in his fucking Lee Harvey Oswald outfit. That's what Lee Harvey Oswald was wearing when he got shot.
He's gonna start doing Zoom background. Zoom call.
Can I take myself off
face?
Fucking shit on like everybody? Please.
You were late. You deserve it. You were late for the show. You should have been here 5 minutes prior. Even though I was only here 2 minutes prior. But no, we were just talking about how. Yeah, you forget, we're not traveling anymore right now. I don't know if you guys are doing road shows, but nobody's doing any road stuff really. Some people are, but even you are doing it in Canada?
Well, I'm up here to do stand-up on the husk that's left over from Just for Laughs. And so they're still doing, they're doing TV stuff. So I have to quarantine for 2 weeks to do 8 minutes of material.
But it's going to be on Canadian TV.
Yeah. But up here, by law, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks when you come from outside of Canada.
Yeah.
And you, if you are caught breaking quarantine, you can face a year in jail. And,
whoa!
Yeah, and you're not allowed to quarantine with anybody over 65.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and so basically, JFL put me up in an Airbnb. And I just got one with a backyard, and there's bricks back there, and I go back there and lift bricks and talk on the phone all day.
It's like prison. It's like Canadian prison.
People who are 64 are like, "Fuck you, man." Really?
They're just like, "Hey, I'm not feeling great either. I'm still in that world. It's not, the year's not going to make a difference."
Every time I see all these rules, I want them read in a German accent. We had I have to homeschool my kid and whatever, and we have PTA meetings, and they're literally they had an ice cream social, which was
which is like a 1950s type thing. Yeah.
What's the point of that? An ice cream socially distanced social. It was really.
Oh, okay.
It was
have an ice cream social?
Yes.
No black specks even, not the good vanilla.
All the masks must be worn onto the playground. It was it was, and you know what? Nobody went. It was 15 people there, and we're really proud of our social. And it was awful. Nobody's gonna go.
My nephew, they've been doing he's been going to school, but they have it all encapsulated. So, and then you go to recess with the same kids, and you're all doing these non-contact activities, and they have they have the bus drivers are being they're the ones watching the kids during recess. And they were playing red light, green light for a bit. My nephew was like, "I've been winning at red light, green light." But what happened was then he came home and he goes, "Oh, the supervisor told us that we can't run anymore." And I'm like, "What do you mean run?" And then My sister's like, I think that the bus driver just doesn't want to like worry about them running and just told them no more running. Like just no more running. You can't run because
They're not going to be able to catch them. There's no way to catch them.
Exactly. But like that's not part of COVID. No more running. Like that has nothing to do with it. In fact, that would help COVID. That's you're socially distance yourself more if you're running away from the guy that's trying to like tag would be a good. Actually, tag would be a bad game, I guess.
I mean, a bus driver.
No. They're doing air tag. No shit. It's so dumb.
Air tag. So you can't actually, you don't actually touch the person.
You just hit the air, like near them.
You didn't catch them.
That doesn't count.
Stupid.
That, you know how many times you just do that in regular tag and it doesn't count because the whole idea is tag?
Yeah.
It's a nuanced game.
I think a lot of it's just
a nuanced game. Touch a guy.
Yeah. Tag usually means you touch somebody. It's how it works.
So is your daughter, has she told you that, is she like, it's just weird and she's fine with it? Or is she like,
this is her all day. No shit.
Just miserable.
On the computer. Every kid, all the kids. She went to bed tonight at 6:30, and not to get all like serious, but this is fucked up. She's exhausted. Okay, she's 6.
Yeah.
5 hours on a computer, not normal.
Yeah.
And all I ever heard from pediatricians was screen time.
Yeah.
You're just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they have these kids have enough screen time, like they have a job in HR. Like they're just like
commuting. It's like the kid, she commutes up to the attic, and then we get to the desk, and then she's just like nothing's fun. And I think the thing is, a lot of the virtual teaching was taught by like these kind of IT nerds. I love you, IT nerds, but you know, they're not performers. And I think once you put kids in front of a screen, you have to be entertaining and engaging, right?
Wait, so it's not the teachers
like, boys
teaching?
and girls, this is what we're doing, blah. And the kids are just like, burr, burr, burr. They're dead.
And then it just becomes the teacher from the Peanuts or whatever it was. Yeah, Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. Wait, but you're saying the tech nerds are why are they doing the teaching?
No, they're the ones who trained the teachers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The teachers have this pressure on them, and I really feel for the teachers. Look like they're going to cry. The teachers are like, they're so trying. They're like, Timmy, stop picking your nose. Terry, late. Stop laying down. Can you go get your dad so you can mute your mic? I swear to God, it's like.
Oh my God.
It's really awful.
My buddy is a high school shop teacher, and he's doing it online. I'm like, what?
Just like missing fingers. Like
all right, kids. For this next project, go to Home Depot, get yourself a jigsaw, and come back to your houses. And
Mommy, put pressure on it. Put pressure on it.
Like my kid took shop. We had to spend $43,000 on my kid's shop class last semester.
I want you to find the sharpest thing in your dad's basement. Come upstairs. Get a tourniquet. You want to get a tourniquet ready.
Yeah. That actually, it's so funny. In 7th grade, I was in shop, and we had a teacher named Mr. Conroy, and he used to tell people. He used to have a line where he'd go, "You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't Conroy." That's what it was so stupid. But anyway, one time I was using that.
Beaten summarily.
Yeah, exactly. One time I was using that saw. I think it's the band. It's not the jigsaw. The bandsaw that goes through it, and I was cutting the wood, and I was like talking to my friend, and I wasn't paying attention, and I cut a line into my thumb, and I went up to and I was like, oh, and it didn't hurt because I think I was like in shock, or it was like it just didn't. Nothing happened yet, and I went up to him and I go, "Hey, Mr. Conroy, look what I did," and he goes, "You're an idiot. Go to the nurse." Like there's no compassion. No shop teacher in the history of shop has had compassion for anybody.
I'm not trying to Conroy. I'm thinking this is real blood. This is real Roy.
It's gotta be like a suburban class or whatever, right? Because I grew up in Manhattan, and I never took shop class. I feel like it's like only
it was in Long Island. Yeah, we used to have that, and then we also used to have like, if you were in like the vocational part of the school, you would have like auto class, and I never did have that, but I was like, I wish I had that now. Like I would have a skill. Like we're comics. We have no skills.
I know. What are we going to fall back?
The only comic I know who has other skills is like Mateo Lane. Like Mateo Lane technically shouldn't be a comic. The guy, he's like world-class trained opera singer, artist. He knows 4 languages. I'm like, what are you slumming it with a bunch of fucking maniacs for?
Yeah.
Well, except for Matt Broussard, he's like.
Yeah.
People, he's like Matthew Broussard. He's like amazing. Like
Yeah, he's like really smart guy. Yeah. And,
no, and his girlfriend, Lauren Sogar's like a world-class swimmer. So I'm like,
yeah, what the fuck? You shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be allowed to do comedy. Things didn't work out for me. That's why this worked out. Like that should be what it is.
Yeah.
It only worked out because everything else didn't work out.
Like you got fired from the docks and then you had to come here.
Yeah. It was Streetcar Named
on the docks.
It was like, this is the sequel to Streetcar Named Desire. Okay, this is exactly what happened. But no, it's totally true. I thought of that now where I was like, yeah, I'm not doing much live stuff. So what can I do? And I'm looking for all these random jobs. And I'm like, oh, I'm joking about the no skill thing. Like comedy is a skill, but if it doesn't exist, what do you do? Like there's writing jobs and whatever background work and
writing jobs. Writing jobs.
I don't even, to be honest, I don't know about you guys. I don't know if people realize this. I think like a lot of like when you get into what you want in comedy, like I think the only reason I would ever want a writing job is just the money. Like I don't know if that's why people do it, but some people thrive in those rooms. I think I would lose my mind every day if I had to write for a TV show.
Writing jobs are so I've only got one writing job. But like I was so excited, and then after like 2 weeks, I was like, I'm back in the office. Fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that you're not writing your own stuff. So you're like, I want to be in a writer's room, and then you're like, yeah, but it's not your voice. You have to cater somebody else's voice. So
and you have bad bosses, and
I remember actually Pete Corelli told this great story about writing on Kevin Can Wait. I think I can talk.
Sure, why not? Who cares?
He was saying that he goes, and Pete, he's like very,
Yeah, Pete's like very Long Island or Jersey.
It was like a Christmas episode. I write this joke. This guy. It was about like sticking the thumb in the pie. Like what is that? What's the at Christmas time like?
Oh, Tom Thumb or something.
Tiny Tim sticks his thumb in.
Tom. Yeah,
and he did this joke, and he goes, and the joke was hilarious. Everybody's laughing, and the showrunner goes, "Yeah, but technically it wasn't like a pie like that." And I was like, what the fuck? Like, so he couldn't, and that's what happens is like people who don't write, like the producers, like the executive producers will be like 22 years old and be like, that joke was like lame.
I can tell this story now because the show doesn't exist.
I was 100 and he just didn't get anything. He was like 100-year-old man. He was like, I don't know.
Oh yeah. I was on one of those, if you ever do one of those talking head shows, they kind of scam you a bit because they get you to write your jokes for the show.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing two jobs. And then on top of it, I used to do this one show where I would come in with all these things written on the videos you had to watch or whatever it was. And then they would never use any, like I'm like, some of the stuff would kill in the room. Like some of the stuff would bomb, obviously, but some of the stuff would kill. And then they'd be like, yeah, but how can you say this? Because then they had a script they wanted to like work out they had it all mapped out. So you're like, maybe a couple of the things I said got on, but I'll never forget. We had there was one riffing thing where I was making fun of this guy whose dog found out that, he found out he had he was sick because his dog smelled on his leg and his dog started biting his leg. Like his dog knew. So I was joking around and doing a whole riff about how I'm like, yeah, like the only medical advice he'll take from now on is from his dog. Like he'll go to doctors and I'll be like, no, he's like, I'm going to listen to my dog. And we were joking around and everybody's laughing and having a good time. And the producer and the writer were all laughing. None of that made it in. And ever since then I was like, oh, I'm not going to write anything. I'm just going to riff from now on and then say their lines. And that's all it is. Because that's really, when you get egos involved and people think they know comedy, and they're the ones in charge, it's like, that's what they're going to do anyway. They're in charge of editing it anyway.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I was going to say it. That's why that guy was like, it's not the right pie. It's like he got the joke, but he was pissed that
he was pissed it did well. He was pissed the joke did well.
Yeah.
And he didn't come up with it. If he would have come up with it, he'd been like, oh, that killed. We got to keep that in.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I've learned to I was doing stuff with a network and for a talking head type thing. I was like hosting, doing jokes about movies or whatever during commercial break. And I was with a packet with 10 pages of jokes for, I'd watch the movie and I'd come up with 10 pages of jokes and they would change all of the jokes. And they're like, well, I was like, but this is way better. And they're like, yeah, but we're going to have problems with advertisers for this one. And they're coming from a different, they're looking at it differently. They're not, it's not
I get that. That makes sense to me.
I get that because they get sued or whatever it is. But then if they're changing, but then some of them, they were doing it just to fucking do it,
because there's just so many cooks in the kitchen on a lot of these projects. It's just everyone has to justify their existence, so they have to take a piece of the pie or change something and say, well, I changed this. I worked on this joke. I did this, and even though it doesn't mean anything, it's why the best shows that were ever made are always sort of like have like an auteur, like one person or two people do everything. And then
based on one vision with open constructive criticism. Or, that's what you assume at least.
Yeah. And there's like, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, bud.
I was going to say I forgot my train of thought. It's not.
Yeah, no, you know what I was thinking. What maybe reminded me of is like I'm obsessed with Seinfeld, the television show. I love it so much, and I'll watch anything behind the scenes about Seinfeld. I'll watch. And those guys, they had once, like just for some reason, it was given this golden goose type thing where they had carte blanche. They used to tell the network no to things, and they'd be like, okay, and like. This is even before it became what Seinfeld was, before it was proven. I think they just loved the idea so much. They were just like, no, we're not doing that. And I think Larry David used to have huge issues with what directors wanted to do and like changing, but he's the one, obviously he knows what he's doing. It's like that kind of thing.
They did take notes. They did take one. They took.
Oh, I'm not saying they didn't take notes at all. I'm just saying they had a lot more power than a lot of other shows.
I agree with everything you're saying, but I just like for trivia, the one note that they did take was they're like, you need a woman.
Yeah,
and that's why there's a lane, because that was a network note.
Yeah, but that's right, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that was right.
No. Yeah, they're very right.
I thought it was good. Yeah, it's good.
It was a really good note. But there was another one about one thing I was surprised about, because Larry David used to be on Fridays with Michael Richards. Like he used to write for Fridays, and Michael Richards was on that show Fridays. And I thought because of that, that's why Michael Richards was Kramer. And then I watched a video where he was like, he wasn't even my pick. He was Seinfeld was the one that was like, you have to pick Michael Richards for Kramer.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised at. I'm like, oh, you guys worked together. I think it was just like, hey, I know this guy's amazing. We'll put him on the thing. And it actually was kind of it kind of relates to what you said before about the pie thing. Larry David was like the real guy Kramer. He was like, that's not what Michael Richards really is. Kramer's different than that guy. But he's wacky enough. He's a wacky neighbor enough. But like, I guess the way like Larry David was like, no, I wanted somebody just like my neighbor at the time. And then he realized, I guess, we made the right choice.
Do you guys watch the last episode, the last season of Curb?
Yes, it was great. The MAGA hat thing was unbelievable.
Incredible. I love Seinfeld. I know I'm in the minority of this. I like Curb better.
A lot of people do. I like Seinfeld. Seinfeld for me has become like nostalgic. Like I used to watch Seinfeld with my dad on the like childhood. Like it's almost like a teddy bear at this point. Like I can watch, but I also at the same time it's still hilarious. I laugh out loud at Seinfeld, the television show still, and I've seen every episode at least 10 times. At least 10 times. I
have an analogy. Tell me if you guys have heard this before, but so Seinfeld, the show Seinfeld is like the Beatles. It's like Paul McCartney is Jerry Seinfeld and John Lennon is Larry David. Larry David's a little darker, John Lennon's a little darker, and then Paul McCartney's a little poppier, Jerry Seinfeld's a little poppier, and they balance each other out, because without each other it'd be like too poppy if it was just Seinfeld, like too like, what's with lint in my you're right. Yeah. And then like
that's a phenomenal analogy.
Yeah. You know what else? You're absolutely right. And you know what else I always think about that is? Because it actually reminds me of the Wes Anderson, Owen Wilson relationship. I don't know if you guys are Wes Anderson fans, but like, if you notice, the less Wes Anderson is, the less that Owen Wilson's involved in Wes Anderson movies, they become more and more fantastical, and like they become more Wes Anderson, like this is my own world universe thing.
Right, he grounds them a bit.
Well, Owen Wilson used to ground it because he was Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, and Royal Tenenbaums, and then after that, that's when it became mostly, and that's when you have like Moonrise Kingdom, and everything's very storybooky, and it's not as like real world funny. It's more like quirky funny or whatever. It's whatever. So you need that balance, I think.
Less funny is what it is.
Less funny.
Sean, the only thing I know about Wes Anderson is that his movie Rushmore is not better than Good Will Hunting.
Well, yeah. Oh, you guys, don't ever look to fucking Eric Newman, Lee Harvey, Eric Newman for movie lists, because he has the worst. His top 10. He had like The Rock. Like I think like The Rock, the movie, was in his top 10 or something crazy like that.
No, I never said The Rock.
No, wait, Eric, do you like, because I had a big discussion with somebody about this, Fatal Attraction.
I think it's good.
Attraction was a fucking amazing movie.
I think it's good.
There's actually about an hour like documentary or like behind the scenes thing. It's like on Reels or something like that, talking about the movie and like different endings they could have had. Like they were going to kill the guy at the end and they were going to have him go to prison, and audiences were like, no way, man, he's been through so much. It was really interesting. I love that movie. I think
by the way, I'm a defender of my taste no matter what. I don't care. I will not get bullied into. I was at a wedding. Sean, you know this. I was at a wedding a month ago on Jersey Shore. This is about to make sense in a minute, by the way.
I believe you all.
Okay. Wait, Graham, listen to one thing. These guys tried to tell me, 6 guys tried to tell me that Rocky 4 is a better movie than the original Rocky.
No, that's not true.
Stroke, dude.
No, I'm with you on that one. That's not true. I'll tell you this much. The only thing I'll say about Rocky 4 is that, because I grew up in Rocky 4, like I went to go see it in the movie theaters. The Creed movies make Rocky 4 a better movie.
How?
Because the Creed 2, because it's built off that universe of its revenge movie.
He said
you haven't
Dolph
seen it.
Lundgren and him, like they're.
It's his kid. It's Dolph Lundgren's kid that he fights in Creed 2. So it actually makes Rocky 4 a better movie by association, because both the Creeds are. I would say Creed 1 is a better movie than Rocky 1. I'll say that.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Creed 1 is a really fucking good movie.
You just said absolutely. There's no
absolutely.
There's no absolution with that comment. I'm sorry.
I am listening through the internet, hearing vaginas dry up. I can hear it.
Wait, look what a TV exec Graham is. He's like, listen, we got to get these 18 to 49 girls in there. We got to get more of a
Graham
demo.
was the guy who suggested Elaine in Seinfeld.
I always actually thought what would be funny matching up a Seinfeld cast of Cellar comics for a Seinfeld cast, and I thought of as Mark Norman as Seinfeld, Sam Morril as Kramer, Gary Veter as George, and I can't think of the Elaine. I can't think of the Elaine.
You're just going off looks.
I think Rachel.
Rachel could be the Elaine. Yeah, Rachel could be the Elaine. Yeah. No, I think Vibe too. Well, no, Morril just looks like
you think Gary Veter's like George? It's like,
I guess that's looks wise too. I don't know. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's kind of like George. Yeah.
I would give you
oh
George
my
more.
God.
What? You give me George more?
Than Veter.
What? Because I'm fatter?
You're more George.
I think
I think Natterman should be Newman.
Like,
I just thought maybe the beard would take me out of it. Like looks wise, and I guess I'm more George personality wise than Veter is. That's true. That's true.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess you know what it is, because those guys hang out together. So I just thought of that too. Like, right. that crew hangs out together. So like that's why I figured that was a good matchup. But thanks guys for shedding on it. I appreciate that. And
another controversial show, Friends. Do you like Friends or not?
I'll tell you this much. I appreciate Friends now. I definitely do. Like I never when I was younger, I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't hate it. But I watched 2 or 3 episodes today when I had nothing to do. Yeah, it's a funny show. There's a lot of funny shows like that from back in the day. You know, it's a great show, and like joke wise and holding up wise is Golden Girls. You ever watch Golden Girls now? Golden Girls now is
much. My vagina just got wet again. That's
Golden Girls.
I love Golden Girls. It's a funny thing. I
love how they just make fun of what's her name for being a slut the whole time.
Right.
Blanche?
And then
Blanche.
Blanche, yeah. And then did you
see the controversy about the blackface episode? Did you see that shit?
Oh, dumb. They were like doing a mud rap or something?
Yes, they were doing a mud map. First of all, I have to say this whole controversy came about during Pride, okay? Which, if anybody knows, insulting Golden Girls during Pride is just sacrilegious, okay? Because gay men have kept Golden Girls alive forever, and Sean Donnelly. But the episode was that Dorothy's son was dating an older black woman. Okay?
I saw this one. It's kind of fucked up. If you, it's okay.
No, but it's not about her being. Not about her being. First of all, they're Italian. Okay, so that's a big thing with like the Italians not wanting their children to date black.
Right. Yeah.
Vice versa. What happens is she's frustrated because her son's not only dating a black woman, but he's dating an older woman. She's like 20 years older. Then her family doesn't like it either. So then what happens is he and the girlfriend come to their house one night, to the Golden Girls house, and they come in, and Blanche and what's the dumb one? Rose. They're doing mud masks, and they come out of the bathroom. They're like, "Hello," and it's this fantastic moment where they're just kind of sitting there, and they laugh. The audience is done.
Oh, here it is. This is the photo.
Yes, and what happens is that now they have pulled the episode from Hulu because they say it's blackface, and I'm like, no, the joke is
it's not blackface.
Interpreted as blackface, and Rose even goes, "Oh, we're not black; these are mud masks," and it's so fucking funny. But they pulled the fucking.
And also, the joke is they're the idiots. Like they're wrong. That's the joke. The joke is like we're schmucks standing here in what looks like blackface but isn't blackface, and we're morons, and we have egg in our face.
Talking at cross purposes, it is a device used in comedic writing all the time, where people think one thing. Like Three's Company was based on that. Three's Company.
Yeah. Oh, that was the whole show.
Sex jokes versus whatever the hell.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what the whole problem with that whole stance, that movement of no, the joke is really about this. The whole problem with that is that the people who want to be outraged aren't going to care that you're making a logical argument, and the people who are neutral will understand and smart will understand what the joke is. So it's like to have the that back and forth with them. It's like the joke's smart. It's a funny joke.
What frightens me about it is that we are now teaching people that you can absolutely ignore context. And that's okay, and you can ruin people for that. Like it's insane to me. Like I'll give you an example. I was gonna be an adjunct professor at NYU. Thank you much.
Nice. Hey,
John, could you do that?
You got a backup plan?
Yeah, I could try that. Adjunct and what? I could teach a course in how to pick fresh Reese's Pieces from a store.
Yeah. Well,
fresh Reese's peanut butter cups from a store. I know exactly how to do it. I know what not to. If the package is a certain way, it's stale. I know it.
I'm excited to go on a trip someday to a bodega with you.
But what happened? So anyway, so you were going to be a professor.
So I was supposed to do this job, and then I started seeing it was when Milo Yiannopoulos. Was at Berkeley, and everybody flipped over cars, and people were losing their minds. So I called the director of the program, and I said, "Hey, what's my protection as an adjunct professor, who's going to be talking about probably controversial stuff in the classroom? Comedy is never really controlled." And she's like, "Well, give me an example." I said, "Well, I know I have a student who's a white guy who lives in a black neighborhood and wants to talk about that experience." And she literally said to me, "Well, I would think for the purposes of this class, right, that you will explain that he shouldn't do that joke." I honestly thought, I literally said, I go, "Are you shitting me?" I literally said, "Are you shitting me?" to this person, because I thought it was going to be a complete 180 answer. Yeah. That she was going to say, for the purpose of this class, we understand that controversial subjects. I said, I'm not censoring people, and I bagged it. I didn't want to do it. I based off that. Yeah. Because I knew what I was in for. I knew what I was in for if I was to do that, to work there.
Yeah, for sure.
And that sucks, because you're teaching students that any type of adversity just doesn't exist, and that people always think what you think, and it's just, it's not.
Well, what do you guys think about, maybe this just happened, because the Milo stuff, the thing that always used to get me annoyed about the Milo stuff is that, not that I don't think that he should be able to give a speech with that. I actually believe anything he should be able to say. Whatever the fallout is from what you say, like you say the N-word on the street to somebody, you get punched. I'm sorry. And then they get arrested. That's all the fallout from the fallout.
Sure.
I think that, but I think on a stage, you should be able to say whatever you want. The reaction is what's going to make you be like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. That's what should be, that kind of thing.
I would have a problem if I was a student and then my tuition was going to university who was paying someone to do hate speech at my college. I'd be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, I could see that. But the thing that bothered me more about that Milo guy is that he wasn't an intellectual. He's just an idiot. Like he was just kind of like he's kind of a jackass. Yeah, exactly. But let me ask you this. I don't know if we'll all have the same opinion about this. Did you hear there was I don't know if Mike can bring this up. There's a news story about the guy who was like, I might get the details wrong, the communications professor who was talking to his class about different words that in different language that are said over and over again to mimic thought, or to when you're trying to think of, like we go or like that, whatever. And then he talked about a word in Vietnamese that when they're trying to think of something, or they're just trying to say whatever it is, it's a word that sounds like the N-word.
Yeah,
Right.
I know what they're. I know. What they're
And this guy got taken out of the, and then the black students in the class, they wrote a letter saying, how dare you even say that example, knowing the sensitive nature of the sound of that word. Even though he didn't say the word, he wasn't even talking about the N-word at all. It was literally the word in Vietnamese. And he was taken out of the, off the class. I think he was suspended. I don't even know if he was suspended. He was taken he was taken off that class. And I think but he didn't apologize. But do you guys think that's progress that these students are writing this? Or do you think it's bullshit?
I mean, we're comics. I assume we all think it's bullshit.
It's all right. That's what I thought.
I think
You never
everybody.
know. I wanted to make sure. I did not make sure, but I wanted to give you.
The other example where, like the blackface, I think the blackface with the Golden Girls has more of an argument than that one. I think that one's actually crazy. Like, absolutely bonkers. Like, I could see a black person watching the Golden Girls and seeing that and being like, kind of brought me to.
Sure. To be honest, that same episode, when her reaction is jarring now for me, when he tells her she's black and Dorothy goes, oh, come, like, because you love these characters.
Yeah.
So you love these characters. So you're like, oh, right. It's 85, 86, 87. But here's the thing. We can't. Here we go. This is the
Chinese, Sean. Culture appropriate. What are you doing?
Oh, it was Chinese. I thought I said
thinking them all together. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry. I got the nationality wrong. I apologize. Yeah. So
I think
that's right.
I did suspend him.
I think you should log off.
Yeah.
That was more effective than anything he did, Sean.
What'd you say? Yeah, that was way worse. USC suspended him, so I guess I just don't see how that's warranted in that saying. But going back to the Golden Girls thing, here's the thing: you can't I think everybody's in agreement that fucked up shit used to happen on TV, and and there was like tone deaf stuff from 40 years ago, almost 35 years ago. So when you're bringing that up as examples now to be like, oh my God, look how horrible this is. It's like, no, we're in agreement that shit like that used to happen. That's not happening anymore. I'm actually okay with like a joke like that not being like the face mask stuff not happening. But seeing it in an old show, I'm not gonna be like, wow, that's insane. I'm shocked that it was in an old show.
No. But here's the thing. No, Sean, I agree with you. But here's the thing, right? Let's say when did that episode air?
Like probably 87.
Okay. So let's say you're 6 years old in 93 watching that episode and you see that, right?
He was 25. What are you talking about?
I was six. But let's say I'm watching.
Fuck off. I was 8 years old. All right. So 9 years old. So let's not, all right. Yeah. In case there's ladies watch, I'm 42, girls. All right. I'm not 65 years old. Okay. Yeah. I don't have to be quarantined with Graham K.
You can come on down. You could make dinner. I wouldn't kill you. Probably.
All right. So you're 6 watching that. You're saying it's forming your opinion. That's what you're saying.
Right. But what I'm saying is when you're at that age where you're so impressionable and you're watching TV is one of the mediums that's telling you what's socially acceptable, right?
Sure.
You're saying, I'm watching it on TV. It must be fine. People are laughing. It must be cool, right? So are we supposed to be making TV shows now thinking, oh, is this going to be acceptable 30 years from now?
No, because what do you then you don't make any jokes ever, Eric. Then you may just stop making jokes.
No, that's what I'm saying though. So why are people getting in so much trouble for something that was acceptable on TV in 1985?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
1 second. Now we talked about Seinfeld earlier, and we were talking about, we're talking about this blackface thing. What about Seinfeld with Indian Giver, right? That episode is.
I was actually. Oh, that's so funny you said that.
It's hilarious, and it's the same joke. The joke is about misinterpretation. That's what it is. It's not a joke about Native Americans. It's not a joke about black people. It's a joke about someone thinking that it is, and what a horrible, egregious offense that is. That's what I mean.
That's what I mean. So if the wrong party in the joke has the right message, so. When it comes to the Golden Girls thing, they're wrong in the joke. So that's showing the 6-year-old Sean is showing you they shouldn't have done this. They screwed up. That's the folly. That's the fucking joke. That's why it's not as bad to us because we realize what the joke is.
They were caught they were caught in a compromising position. The fact that they had mud masks on, there's inherently nothing wrong
Right.
with mud masks.
Oh, not
Right,
at all.
right.
That's what, but I don't even understand how in this world, how people are literally saying, yeah, let's pull this. Well, why?
Yeah.
It's because people want power, and it's power when they can shut something down and they feel good, and it's a fleeting thing, and they want it, and then the network is like, I don't want to deal with this. It's just easier for me to shut it off than it is to worry about fighting some. I've got sponsors. I don't give a shit, you know?
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting though. I have to say, like, I do that joke about, I don't know if you guys know it, where I talk about arguing with my daughter about sunscreen. Basically, it's about how she's really intelligent. She's only 6, and we argue back and forth. And she's like, I have more melanin in my skin, and I have darker skin, and afterward. And I said, well, you know, people with more melanin in their skin have a 50% higher chance of getting shot by the cops. So put on your sunscreen. The people who laugh at that joke the most are Black audience members.
Yeah.
And I'll often
Right.
get
I
like
believe that. Yeah.
applause breaks from Black audience members. And I'm saying, so the average, if you take a room full of like 50 white people, 50 Black people watching the Golden Girls episode, the Black people are going to laugh because they're not stupid. And that's what pisses me off, is we're almost insulting people's intelligence by saying they don't have the ability to understand that this is just a joke. So let's protect them. It's weird to me.
Right.
It is weird.
100%. I grew up in Manhattan, and I went to
Stop
predominantly.
mentioning that.
I grew up in a doorman building, a high-rise in Manhattan, in a penthouse.
We get it. You're cosmopolitan. Shut the fuck up.
Hey, Karen. Sorry.
Karen. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you. Sorry.
My high school was predominantly Black. It was like 90% Black. All my best friends in high school were Black. I would make Black jokes to them. They would make Jewish jokes to me. We would have a great time. These same friends now that I've known forever, now we have to watch what we say around each other. And it's like, it's just weird. It feels like the world in some ways going backwards. It's like now it's so serious. Like, we used to be able to joke around about it, and now it's very serious, and you can't say that. You can't. So are we going forward or backwards?
It's oppression.
Well, you mentioned Friends before. I was thinking this the other day. Like, you know how many? I think I was talking to somebody about this. You know how many jokes in Friends is like the punchline is, that's gay. There's a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of like,
Right.
what would be considered homophobic storylines in Friends from back then.
Right.
So everything changes. That's the thing. That's why I think we're all in agreement. Like, why get hung up on something from 35 years ago? It's like, move forward and try to. I'm okay with, like, I think there's a certain level of ignorance that can happen that's like that you can not be on board for. But when something intent means a lot, like the intent of the writer of the joke, intent is the key.
100%.
Intent could be, how many times have you intended to communicate something to an audience and it just, they didn't, it's
I've randomly said things that sound horrible, and I was like, I did not mean that for that to happen.
I just say the word rape just to annoy people. I just do.
She just has a little recorder. She just presses a button and just says it.
I have a joke that it's a true story. It's about how I signed up for Google Alerts, and it emails you every time your name is mentioned in a news article, because I released a special or whatever. I want to see if whatever. And I didn't get any alerts. Then I got a whole bunch, and I clicked on them. And this is true. There is a rapist in Australia with my exact name. And I have a joke about it where I just talk about how there's a rapist in Australia. And that, like, some people like laugh so hard, and you see so many people are turned way off.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm not a rapist. This isn't a joke. I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
But that's the thing. Some people don't have the capability to go, oh, it's not him. Like, they're just like, they hear the fact and they're just like, now he's a rapist.
Yeah, but they're being
they don't have the mental acuity to,
Well, I will say this. I think doing comedy for 24 years now, I notice a significant difference in crowds now than I did.
I've heard that a lot. I've heard that.
Significant difference.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And then what's
like
funny,
with uptightness, right?
Tightness. Yeah. And you'll have people come up to you and go, oh my God, I love that you did that whole thing about, I could never like say that. It's like, yeah, because that's our job. But there are lots of people thinking lots of things, but they don't say anything. because they're afraid of the thought police. Like as soon as you open your mouth, you're like a Nazi, or it's like you said.
It's fascism. When you start having a dialogue in private and you can't have in public, that's like when you're in an oppressive regime. It's not. It ends up not being a good thing either way. It is intended to be good, and I'm on board with 90% of like this wokeness, but like when that starts happening, it's pretty crazy and messed up. I think what you're saying, Veronica, is just to reiterate it, is like people aren't understanding different layers of the human language. If you're not smart enough to understand the subtext of things, like I think every audience member should, before they walk into a comedy club, should get a pamphlet that just summarizes Pavlov's dogs, and then they just go, "Oh, okay, yeah." Get down to the next.
This is what jokes are. Yeah, it's fair. I also, it's interesting because I was thinking about sensitivities as well, right? Like, who are the really sensitive groups? To me, it's always like white hipsters that go to NYU. They're the ones that are the worst, and it's funny because like especially women, like I find like I do a lot of jokes about the women's march. I make fun of women a lot. I think women are too sensitive. And actually Brian Scott McFadden, you guys know, right? We were talking about if a woman has brothers, she tends to be a little less sensitive about
I believe
like
that
rape jokes and things like that, because we're used to being like abused most of our lives by brothers. So what do you guys think shapes people? I mean, in other words,
it happens the flip way too. I have two sisters, and I think I'm more sensitive towards women than a lot of my friends. Like my friends talk a certain way sometimes where I'm like, yeah, let's relax a little bit. So I think that happens too. Both things happen.
right.
I think piggybacking off what both of you guys are saying, I think like it's not fair that like comics have to work so hard to like just like work their asses off to like get booked on professional shows, but audience members who off the street could just go to a professional show. I think there should be like bringer audience show, like
Professional audiences.
as a crowd member you should have to go to like an open mic first, and then if you pass that, go to why are we letting these people?
Like a training for the audience members.
I love that. That's that's the favorite thing I've heard in a long time.
That is a great idea. Great idea.
Well, you ever do this? You ever do a road show where the whole audience knows each other and they're worried about laughing about certain stuff in front of the people they know from the town?
Yeah.
I did a long time ago. It was one of the weirdest phenomenons ever. Me and Nick Cobb, who was a very funny comedian.
I love Nick.
We did a show in Jersey somewhere where it was for a baseball fundraiser. And before anybody would laugh at kind of a racy joke, they would look at the baseball coach. They would look at the coach. If he was laughing, then you would get a laugh. So this weird delay was happening.
Was he a black guy?
No, he was just the head. It was his fundraiser. He obviously had a high standing in the town.
It's like doing a corporate where the boss laughs and everyone
Exactly.
So funny. So have you guys ever had like a moment where you realize you're saying something that's not going to be accepted and you're sort of halfway through the joke right before you get like if you have to do a cleaning show or whatever? Like I did a fundraiser for the 1%ers, which are a motorcycle gang, by the way. It's not like there's 1%ers and then there's 1%ers like scary bike guys. There was like somebody's child had killed themselves, like a teen, and they had a fundraiser for the family, whatever. And I said something like, "Oh my God, I might as well just stick like a guy. Just let me move on to the next." I was gonna say gun in my mouth. Has that ever happened to you guys where like you have to do a clean show or something like that?
It's happened to me before where one time I was getting yelled at. I was getting heckled at a show in the city. It was a fundraiser show, and it was at the basement of Jack Dempsey's where I used to run a show, but it was a separate show. And this guy was really drunk that was at the fundraiser, and it was like 2008, so like the Iraq War was still kind of happening, and he kept yelling at me, United States Marine Corps. So you go, United States Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps. And I'm on stage and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was like trying to ignore it, but he wouldn't stop and nobody was stopping him. So I go, "Were you in the Marine Corps, sir? Is that why you're saying this?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he rattles off. I go, "Were you in Iraq?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he rattles off his whole infantry and all that kind of stuff. And then I go, were you this drunk over there? Is that why we're losing? And half the audience went, yay! And half the audience went, fuck you. And this guy turned bright red and bum rushed, and people got in his way. And I had to run up the back of the stairs. Jack Dempsey's has these back stairs. And I ran up and went out the front of the
Jack Dempsey's. Jack Dempsey's rolling in his goddamn grave.
I'll never work here again.
But yeah, so that was a moment where it was like, because the reason I mentioned it is because he was mad, but I thought everybody would be on my side because I'm trying to shut this guy down, and I thought it was funny to say, and a good portion of the room was like, nope, no, thank you. So when I ran, I ran for a reason.
It's like one of the only things you can heckle with where it's still sent, like you can't completely shit on him. It's a very tough,
line. Yeah.
But he was so disruptive. I just wanted to be mean. Like it was like one of those kind of things. I'm like, how can I be mean and funny right now? And I was like, this will do it. And I thought I'd have more people on my side,
Yeah.
Well, you got me on your side.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
I try to completely control this all the time. I really do. But like occasionally, once in a blue moon, you'll get somebody where you go, you know what? It's personal now. Fuck this set.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Fuck this set. It's personal. We're going one-on-one right now. Like that's it. And I don't. And some comics are better at ignoring it, but I'm sensitive. So like it bothers me.
I had a guy like that. Do you have a particular time that happened?
I was at the comic strip and I threatened to fight for like a group of table of 4 guys because they were being so. But Sean, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's so like
I get it. Yes.
Like I get it if you're trying to be a little funny or whatever, or you're a little drunk, fine. But sometimes you're just like now you're just taking it to a personal level.
I hate it when someone is such a piece of shit, and then it happens more when you're newer, and then you try and shut them down, but then somehow you don't have the confidence.
You don't have the thing.
Experience.
You don't have the chops to do it yet.
Yeah. And so the audience turns on you. I just remember being like 2 or 3 years in, being like, he's robbing you, and I'm trying to save your money. Why are you angry at me?
You're like so desperate. Like I'm with. You're supposed to be with me. Like it's
Great money to see the show. I don't understand.
I told that melanin joke at a club, and it was a very dark room in the back. No pun intended. And I couldn't see there. There's a whole bunch of girls who are like, that joke's racist. And there was like 5 black guys in the front. I go, sir, I think you're black. You seem black to me. Are you black? And he was like, yeah. I go, did you like that joke? I go, yeah. I go, yeah, because you're intelligent. You're intelligent, right? And the girl in the back of the room goes, that's disgusting. It's the most racist thing. Like, that's exactly how she's talking. That's the racist thing I've ever heard. I go, and she said, you're fucking racist. I go, you sound like the whitest chick I've ever heard in my life. She goes, I'm not even white. Like, exactly what I said. And I go, well, you should lose your card now because you are white. I'm sorry, but you're white.
Was she a black woman?
Black woman. She was a light-skinned black woman. The whole table got kicked out because they were just being really.
Oh, they were in the back because they were late. But you know. It
was
very. It was
cancel Graham. Extend his quarantine by 3 weeks.
Oh no.
Special, yes.
We did need a black person on this panel for me to do that joke.
That's true.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau will come on for it.
Shit.
He'll get you out of the jam. I've done that where I don't care anymore. I don't know about you. Like you ever have like because I get defensive about hosting. I get very defensive about like if somebody says to me something, because I used to be, I would just kind of just be like, okay. If somebody says like a backhanded compliment at the end of a show or something weird or something I don't deem.
Oh wait, I know, Sean. I get this at the Cellar sometimes. They go, oh, you should be on the regular show.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I defended with somebody once at I can say Gotham on this. A different comedy club, and they went up. It was like John Fish or somebody. It was like somebody we know, and they were hosting the show. And I went, while I was talking to them, some drunk dude comes over to, I don't know if it was even John, whoever it was. They did jokes, and they were funny, and they were getting laughed. And they were hosting. And this drunk guy comes over and he goes, dude, you were really funny. And he's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, you should do like your own show. And I got right in the middle of it and I freaked. I go, he just did. I go, did he tell jokes? And the guy goes, yeah. And I go, did you laugh? And he goes, yeah. I go, there you go, pal. That's all there. He goes, you know what I mean? I go, no, I don't know what you mean. You tell me right now what you mean. What do you mean? And he was like, it was like that kind of thing.
Just
So,
he
I don't
spent
give
a
a
whole
fuck
cab
anymore.
ride crying because of you. He was like, I just wanted to pay him a compliment.
Yeah, but people should know, like, no etiquette. Don't say awkward shit to people. Like, say,
He said you should wait. He said you should have your own show, and
but he meant your own a regular set, like Eric just said.
set.
Yeah.
Oh, because he was
It's so
hosting today.
we all can decipher idiot talk trying to
Yeah.
figure out comedy. Like, you mean set? Fuck you. Like,
I might have said this on this before, but I had a guy one time after a show go to me, hey, that was really funny, man. I go, thanks. He goes, hey, do you ever actually do comedy or you just DJ in between sets?
oh,
And he meant MC, and I was like, well, first off, you mean MC, and secondly, I'm like, well, I did the same thing. I go, did I tell jokes, man? And he's like, yeah. I go, did you think they were funny? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, there you go. And he's like, same thing. You know what I mean? Nope, I don't. I don't know what you
My
mean.
God, I'd be afraid to tangle with you.
Oh, I almost fought some old dude once. He was I couldn't fight him because he was over 65 and I couldn't quarantine with him. But
knock him right out. You know, Sean's dad used to be a prison guard. You're seeing that shine through a bit.
you're seeing that shanty Irish anger come through.
Yeah.
So, you know what's weird about the difference?
What happened?
I don't know.
Graham, what'd you say?
I didn't know. I was saying, Eric, what'd you say? I just lost you for a second.
Now.
So it's interesting with hosting. Like, I've been thinking about this, like, on the road versus the city. The people who host consistently in the city at clubs are great comics. And the people who host at road clubs are 1 year newbies.
Yeah.
Because that's like the entry level position, right?
Yeah.
But it's very weird, right? Like, if I'm on the road, right, and somebody's hosting, and there's the club manager will tell them not to talk to the crowd and I was like, oh, hosts on the road don't do crowd work. And I was like, and I asked the manager, I was like, why, or whatever. I asked a few managers on the road, and they're like, because they don't know how to.
Yeah.
Because they're 1 year comics, so they don't. It's awkward. It's weird.
They'll end up coming off just mean. They'll just be like, Or they'll just
they ask questions and then they don't know how to. They'll just be like, who here has a birthday? And the person's like, yeah. And they're like, all right.
I was that guy back. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my sorry, what'd you say, Graham?
I was gonna say like when I was first starting out in Ottawa, when somebody would come through to the Yuck Yucks, the manager there was like, he was like, do you know how to host? I was like, no. And he was like, just do your best jokes and that's it. And then bring them up.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite examples of what you're talking about, Eric, is I did a club in Pennsylvania once where the kid that was hosting was a kid because he was at the college. He was at, Penn State. And he was in a comedy club. And when I say comedy club, I don't mean like the Cellar. I mean, he was in an extracurricular college comedy club where they just performed to each other. Like the chess club. And this kid,
Lampoon.
it's one of my favorite stories ever because it was me and Mike Gaffney doing the shows, and Mike would go first on the shows. So it was one of my favorite things ever because this kid did not know what he was. This kid had no. He was just talking, bombing in front of these people, bombing. But to the point where he didn't even know to pause before he brought somebody up. So he would do this. He was like, and that's why I love cats, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Gaffney. I'm dying. So by the second show, Gaffney has to dig himself out of this hole every time after this kid goes up and hosts. So I want. My favorite visual ever is this kid just tanking for 15 minutes, whatever it is. And then I look to the back and Gaffney is just in the hallway, watching the kid freaking out, like losing his mind. Losing his mind.
He's yelling at the kid?
No, not yelling at the kid. No. He's watching the kid bomb and he's freaking out because he has to go on after the guy and dig a hole. But he can't even believe what he's watching. It's so bad. He can't even believe what he's watching. So after the third show, and we had to go to a different location with this kid to host the show. So Gaffney goes, dude, mark my words, on the ride to this next venue, I am going to teach this motherfucker how to host. And sure enough, I go, dude, you can't do that. That's mean. I was like, you can't do that. And he goes, no. He goes, I'll do it. And sure enough, he gave the kid pointers on the way to the trip. It was like a 45-minute ride. And that show and the rest of the shows that weekend, the kid was way better. Way better.
Aw,
Wow.
that's nice.
Yeah, it was
That's a
pretty
nice
funny.
story.
That's good.
Yeah.
But you know what though? That's what's crazy is that like these smaller scenes or like barely any scene or whatever have like so few options as to who they, because there's not that many funny people. Like most funny people will move. They'll go to LA, they'll go to New York. So whoever's left in like a very small scene in the middle of the country, it's slim pickings as far as who you're using as your host in your feature.
Depends on your city, but yeah.
No. I mean, Chicago is. I'm not talking about like Chicago.
Yeah,
Denver.
right.
I'm talking about a little town in North Carolina or Raleigh, North Carolina. Good Nights is one of the best clubs I think in the country. I love Good
It's
Nights.
fantastic. Yeah.
Amazing room, but they don't have, like, I was talking to the booker and she's like, we don't have, like, if we have a pretty good person after a year who started comedy a year ago and they're like kind of know what they're doing a little, they'll be in host rotation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I remember I did this. I did Hilarities in Cleveland, which is another great club. It's a great club. But that's exactly. The host was like this new guy, and he gets up and he literally, I don't know if he was high or what, but the people who are like, I should get high before I perform when I'm brand new. And he gets up and he goes, "This is a really good friend of mine. I'm really excited to bring her up." He literally, I swear on my life, he goes like this. He goes, Alison Morales. Like, I was like, he didn't even have a name. It just was this string of like vowels. And
the Walkman ran out of batteries.
And then what happens is for the second show, he does it again. I said, bring up a fucking beat. We had 3 shows on Friday, 3 shows on Saturday. By the third show, I said, take a Post-it note and read my name. It's fine. I don't care. But
I would always have my name, prefer my name be read off something correctly than just them try to make it and just fuck it up completely.
I had a guy in Boston once that he was supposed to do like 10 minutes to host or whatever it was. And he went in 5 minutes. He was doing great too. In 5 minutes in, out of nowhere, he just goes, like that, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? And he brought up the feature and got off. And he comes back and I go, "Are you all right, man?" And he only did like 5 minutes. He goes, "Oh, my throat was all messed up." And the rest of the weekend, he just kept doing like, he was supposed to do like 10 or 15, and he was doing like 5, 7, 4 minutes. Like, it was like all this time. End of the weekend, he goes, "Hey, do you have any advice?" I go, "Yeah, do your fucking time." Get do your job. I don't care if you're choking, do your fucking job. And he was doing great. He was killing,
That's all he had.
That's all he had, maybe. Yeah, that's all he had, maybe. But I was
that's the other thing about like. Sorry, Veronica.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
When you do like a fundraiser.
Graham, you called that? We both say go ahead, and then we both said.
Yes.
It was great.
Go, Eric. Go.
No, Veronica, go, please.
No, stop. One of you fucking. We have 3 minutes left. Tell the story.
When you're doing like a fundraiser, and they're like, well, it's gonna be you, and then we're gonna have some interpretive dance, and then we have a slam poet, and then we thought you'd light it up.
Oh, that's the worst.
And then they announce that when they go, this comic, Veronica Mosey, she's done this and this. You're like, no, name goes last.
Name goes last. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Guys, this was so much fun. Let's go around the horn and do plugs and get out of here and say goodbye. It was really nice seeing you guys. Let's start with, we'll do ladies first. We'll do it old school here. Veronica Mosey, where can everybody check you out?
So just veronicamosey.com, or my Instagram is just at Veronica Mosey. October 3rd, I'm running a show, which I hope can get you guys on eventually. Union, New Jersey. It's going to be outdoor, professional venue. I'm very excited about that.
October. What's the venue? Yeah.
It's the Union Township. The Union Township Rec Center is throwing it, but it's going to be outdoors in one of their major parks. We have to look and figure out which one it's going to be, but we have about 150 people. We're looking forward to it. So get your tickets, uniontownship.com.
Nice. And Mr. Graham K over there in Canada, where can people check you out?
I have a podcast about autism called Autastic. It's about autism awareness. I guess it's the biggest one in the world. You can check that out. My brother
I tell my sister about it. She teaches kids with autism.
Yeah. cool. And also go to my Instagram. It's Instagram K, Insta, and then my name. I just released a web series on there, and you should check that out. It's the found footage of the worst daytime talk show ever. So Instagram K.
Awesome. And Lee Harvey Oswald, aka Eric Newman, where can people check you out?
Well, I just changed my Instagram to @Lee Newman. I'm recording my second album. My first one was Nervous Lover in 2018. So I'm recording my second album on a penthouse rooftop next Thursday. There's the 7:30s, no tickets left, but 9:15 has some. And so just on my Instagram under the bio, I have the link @I'm Eric Newman.
Cool. And I am at Shoney Time on Instagram and Twitter. And I have a podcast called the DYM Podcast with a very funny comedian, Andy Fiore, and a show on Celebrate called a show on Sirius called Celebrate every Wednesday at 4 p.m. on Raw Dog 99. Guys, this was quite the pleasure. Thank you to Mike, the producer. Thanks for doing this day in and day out, Mike. Mike should have put his Venmo up here so people can just send him cash. He's here every night. Thank you guys. So I hope to see you in person soon, guys. I love you. I'll see you later.
Thanks,
Bye,
Sean.
everybody. Bye-bye.